Fantastic Comics presents. You will talking about Steve Geppi.
So if you are totally dependent on Diamond and only buy a new product, you may be able to do that because you're in a mall and you got all foot traffic. And the COVID-19 is a good example of why that might be helping some people now. But because there's so much new product, thank you, Diamond, you can't pay the rent to buy a store big enough in a mall to carry back issues because we know how much space they take up. We are working on trying to become a back issue source for our customers. A lot of stores can't afford the space it would take to have a monstrous back issue inventory, and it grows every year, right? It was a lot back in the 70s and 80s, much let alone now, got 40 more years of comics. So, but if whatever the product was, there was new or old or back issue or current, you could get it from us or through us, and we could give you a good markup on it that would be more reflective of a back issue markup. We're looking into that.
So that's Steve Geppi, owner of Diamond Distribution. That's the distributor that is basically the only game in town up until recently. And they're having a big old conversation with him.
About going used.
Well, it's funny. So I was in chat along with a lot of other people. Originally, I was Yule, and I was a little salty. And then I changed over to Fantastic Comics, and I was a little bit more direct, but nicer. You know what I mean?
You're trying to escape persecution by changing your name?
No, not at all. Because I thought it'd be better served if like a store was. But the guy always see where our chat is. Like
I know what you're doing. Don't worry.
We don't get rid of this chat unless something really bad happens. But we've got moderators for that, right, Jill?
What happened?
Anyway, nothing happened. Oh wait, can he? Yeah, exactly. I was in chat and I was like, oh, you mean like a comic book store? He said a couple things in there. This is like an hour and a half, 2 hours that he was having a conversation with Dan Shaheen, and a bunch of comic store owners would go in and out, and then they would like hammer him with some questions, and he would come up with some answers, and he was really nice, and you could really get a sense of this guy really cares about comic books, and that's kind of what you would want in a person that's a distributor. But he also has said that COVID and the new distributors showing up have kind of kicked him in the butt also. Like giving him a reason for being, again. But it's like, where were you all this time? We've been sitting on a contract with these companies, publishers, that has been around for 40 years or something like that.
It's called resting on your laurels.
Yeah, exactly. Like he didn't have to. I mean, before our Diamond, not rep, it was the guy who like circuit, runs the circuit, kind of like on the West Coast rep.
Yeah,
he'd go around. Before he died, he came in our store like a few days beforehand. And the last thing he said, what can Diamond do to help you? And the last thing we said to him is, Jeffrey actually said, make comics returnable. And I was in the chat, man, make comics returnable, make comics returnable. Your boxes suck. He would say, oh, people are always looking for a negative thing. As I said, was that what happened when you made the brand new boxes, looking for a problem that wasn't there? And it's like damaged books come in from these boxes all the time. And it's just like, that's like little things, but it's like, these are the things that prevent us from making money sometimes, and then they talked about shipping, all sorts of stuff that really doesn't matter. But I thought this part was a really good, it had a lot of things in it, but when you talked about, it had a lot of words. And one of the things he said was, thanks to Diamond, there's all this shit in your store. We're past the 15-minute mark. There's all this shit in your store thanks to Diamond. He's all, thanks to Diamond, but he didn't say it that way. And then he says that the back issue of all these years of comics, plus all the comics of today, it's a monstrous, I'm not talking about the comic book monstrous. It's a monstrous amount of comic books, and you can't possibly house them in your shop. And monstrous isn't something you should really, it's good for a horror movie, But when you're thinking about your back room full of comic books,
Isn't that
it's
wonderful?
monstrous. It makes me think I wasted all my goddamn time hanging out with you when you say those kinds of things.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And thank you for watching.